Hey there, CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. And it's early in the morning. And I'm just one of these people. I just don't really sleep at night. Often I'll say to to my friends or whatever that I'm nocturnal, which is very true. I've always been that way. I think I've talked about that before. And so, it's not like insomniac. I do sleep. It's just, I don't know. I've always been, opening a Coke Zero. I've always been someone to, kind of live more for night, I don't know. But anyway, cheers, Coke Zero. Okay. And, you know, it's more, and it depends upon the time of year and things too. I generally get out into the woods in the fall, sometime around November, with a group of friends, and we camp out for a weekend or whatever. And that generally does a lot to help, like reset my biorhythms, and maybe I'll sleep a little bit more normal hours going in. But for the most part, I'm just up all night. Has to do, I think, when I was real little, I just, I don't know, loved to sit up and watch like TV late at night, HBO, sometimes the Playboy channel. Although back then it was like soft core, kind of, it wasn't like, the pornography or whatever. It was like uh, maybe romance, or maybe it was like the occasional classic hardcore pornography, but all the hardcore stuff had been trimmed out of it or something like that. So it was a lot of TNA, and you know, that's about it. But the horror movies, loved those. Uh, I don't know. I think it just had a lot to do with, hey, that's me in the still of the night or whatever, and it's when I could be kind of that's kind of who I could process. So yeah, when I could process and figure out things that I was, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, for whatever it is, that just became a part of my uh, nature. Being a nighttime person. So here I am walking downtown at night, uh, early Friday morning. Um, what I'm gonna do is walk over to the river. I love to walk over to the river and check it out when it's pretty much a quiet time, daytime, or evening time, or nighttime, or whatever. It's always a good time to go check out the river. Except for when there's like the occasional flood or whatever. See, it's nighttime, and you know, dark out, whatever. Technically early morning, but still night. So I'm gonna cut right through this parking lot of the. See, I live there. Where do I live? Uh, I live back there, and then over here, where I'm walking, is the local legal aid. If I ever needed it, this would be the legal aid to go to. Although, I don't know. What do you think about, like, you see those things where you have like a service where you could pay like 30 or 40 bucks every whenever, periodically, and just keep an attorney? Do any of you guys have someone like that? And boy, get a little winded. But Do any of you guys get have someone like that, an attorney that you pay like a fee to just to keep around? And do you think it's worth it? Or, yeah, maybe I live such a uh, today I should say I live such a sedentary life. I live, like outside of my small circle. I pretty much just kind of keep to myself. Oh, I love to get out and meet people, love to say hello and everything, but you know, uh, for the most part, it's just a small group of people uh, that I'm around. So there's not really that much that goes on. So I probably wouldn't need an attorney anyway. Uh, let's see. Oh no, I didn't mean to wake you. Anyway, but no, I just wanted to, come out and walk around and go to the river and check it out. I gotta remember when I'm walking and I'm talking like this on my phone, making videos, whatever, that people are out here sleeping. I just passed a guy sleeping under that door, and I think I spooked him. He's kind of sat up, like, oh my god. So maybe I'll mute the video till I get a little further down away from some of these storefronts where some of the people are sleeping. Like I've talked about this philosophy before. It's just like I shave no matter how bad I shave. I've talked about this too. No matter how much I shave, sometimes I'll get a bump and I'll just hit the razor over it, and I'm using like a 5-blade razor. So that's what happened. That's why I'm talking to you here. It's a little less grody. So anyway, but like, this is the part that I've talked about before that I was gonna talk about, and then I digressed talking about my face, because of vanity. But yeah, when it comes to homeless people, or just really just people out on the street, that might be in need or have their hand out or something like that, I really feel this compassion. I myself, even if I have some spare dollars or change or whatever, I never hand it out to someone directly on the street. And the only reason is because I live downtown where a lot of these resources are. And I know that we have a lot of resources for people in a transient situation. I know that. But more importantly, I wouldn't have peace in my neighborhood. I wouldn't be able to really come out during the day and walk around by the courthouse or anything like that, because people talk, and even people, it's a whole subculture thing, and I'm friendly with everybody, and I will talk and I will shake hands and all that. I don't care about that. But the money part, if I were a soft touch for that, then every day it would be like, hey, do you have, and so I don't give money directly. I do believe in helping charitable organizations that I know and trust, that help the charities that they're supposed to. So if it comes to, like if I'm cleaning out a closet and I've got extra clothes or something like that, sure, I'll take it to our local drop-off center or something like that, or my understanding of this comes from the fact that I have been in this situation. I have been homeless before, and I'm grateful that I have a place to lay my head and sleep at night, and I have for many, but I have been homeless, many years. I've been okay, but there was a time I wasn't, and I think the change came when I basically burned a bunch of bridges and then moved around and burned a bunch more bridges, and eventually I burned all the bridges, and I ran out of matches before I ran out of bridges, if that makes any sense. Anyway, something had to change. Thankfully, it was me, and thankfully, in time to do something different. Anyway, but yeah, I've been in a transient situation before. I've known what it's like to, you know, seek shelter under a tree with a lot of leaves when it was raining. Thankfully, I've never been like in a, you know, torrential thunderstorm kind of situation. But I don't know. I've always felt, even in some of my worst days, it should have been helpless. I've always felt not a sense of immortality. That's not what I'm talking about. But I've always felt a sense of protection, like a guiding, like somebody was praying for me, even when I didn't know that I needed to pray for myself, that kind of thing. I felt there was some sort of veil of protection over me. And at the same time, there was a sort of a cloud, a black cloud that kind of hung over me. But that black cloud was mostly of my own doing. Anyway, enough about all that. The reason why I like to come out and walk, forgive this, I'm sorry. It's all I can do not to just pick at it too. That's one thing too, I'm terrible. I'll say this and then I'll get on with some other thought. When I was a teenager, I really didn't grow much of a beard, and I'm like in my 50s now and I still cannot grow like a beard. I think I want to attribute that, like not like a good one, I think I want to attribute that to hopefully my Native American heritage. I think that's something that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I think genetically, they don't really grow the beard as much as, say, I don't know, Nordic people. I don't know. It's just something I've heard. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. Could just be the image that we've been given. I'm sure they must grow a little beard or something, but yeah, just in general, they whatever. Here I am, like talking about some sort of thing that might be genetic, but attributing it to a part of my genetic history that may or may not even be factual. I don't know. So we get all these things handed down to us, old wives' tales, they used to call it, or whatever. So don't know if it's true or not, but whatever. Sorry to offend if I've offended. But anyway, what else? The reason why the whole thing about the transient thing, other than the guy sitting up, is I was with someone earlier, I guess you should say, last night. It's the morning time now, and we were going in to get a shake, and she asked for a burger, and then as we got inside, the security guard that we know, she kind of just let us know, hey, I can't tell you what to do, but this person's out there all the time, every night, and we've asked them not to be there. And when people do give her the burger or something like that, it kind of encourages her to keep coming back. And, so I think we decided, or my friend decided, that he was the one buying the munchies. I was broke today. Last day of the month, I'm always broke, right? But anyway, so I think we decided not to do the whole burger thing, buy her the burger thing. But yeah, and it kind of like reminds me, hey, there is a way to provide help. If everybody does, cards and stuff like that, cash cards, bank cards, and everything. And if you want to help, uh, I think it's admirable. And don't feel that you can't, you know, donate to your local charity and kind of research how they spend the money, you know, for the people who could most use it in your community, you know. And yeah, I think it's really, really great to help organizations on a wider level too, if you can do it and everything. And certainly that goes into, I think, with the certain trusted organizations or certain types of ministry and everything like that, then you sort of get that. You get the benefit of something happening at home, and also it goes to help wider, you know, on a wider scale. And I think that's awesome too. But I think that when we take our dollars that we're going to use, and it's nice to get that immediate gratification of handing it to someone who needs it, but there's so much more power when you take the dollar and you join it with dollars from a whole bunch of other people, and you find out that you've got tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes more, you know, depending upon whatever. And you can really cover a lot more ground. The dollar will stretch a lot further and help out a lot more people, and can provide information on how to actually get people up and motivated and out of that transient situation. Because for me, like I said, that happened and I sought the help that I needed after I'd burned so many bridges that I'd run out of matches, and I didn't, there was no way to keep burning those metaphorical bridges. Don't Google bridge fires and see. Yeah, I didn't actually set bridges on fire. I can assure you of that. I have literally burned no bridges. I've got other stories, and I don't know, at the end of it, maybe I'll write a book, and hey, fire will play a part in that story, but that's way, way, way down the road. I'm an elemental, you know. Wind, you know, fire, and of course, water. And we are at the river now, so I'm just gonna cross this road here, ride the chicken across the road to get to the river. That's why this chicken's crossing the road. Let me pause you just so I get right up. No, I'm not gonna pause. We're gonna look at the bridge. It is almost not worth looking at. I think it's hold up. Yeah, I don't think it's lit. What happens early in the morning, they turn off the display. That's one of the things that is different on this bridge. When it was all neon, it stayed lit like all the time, I think. This one, it gets programmed in its whatever, and they can turn it on and off and all that. But great displays. I wonder if tomorrow is when they're gonna do the changing of the lights, or is that gonna be the Friday after? Usually the first Friday of the month is when they change the pattern of the bridge. And since tomorrow, I guess technically that's today. Maybe tonight then. This is early in the morning. Huh. See. This is my life. The most of my discussions that I have when I mention, hey, guess when something happened or whatever, and I'm talking about an occurrence or something, it's kind of like, hey, you know, last night oh wait, it's still tonight, well tomorrow, and it's like, oh, it already is tomorrow. That's my thing. My whole conversation of life, spending the night with friends, growing up, everything. It was like, hey, what do you want to do tomorrow? Oh, it already is tomorrow. Well, I guess it is. That conversation I've had so many times. That's what happens when you. I don't know. I guess it's like perpetually living on a. You know, what's that? The line of Meridian or something like that, where the date line, the international date line. It's my life is that. Every night I get the. If I'm with people, I'm going to end up having that kind of conversation. Hey, tomorrow, well it's already after we wake up, then whatever. But yeah. I was about to say, this river, if you listen, you'll hear voices speaking to you. But there's actually people over there, so there's nothing mystical about that. But this river will tell you a story. But I'm going to walk around and let people have their experience. And I'm going to stroll. See, this is such a beautiful river, even early this morning, and all hours of the night. People are down here and they're experiencing the river. Couples come and they stroll. I don't know, the occasional pothead comes to burn out. I don't scoot over or anything like that, but just, there's something tranquil about the whole experience. And people just come down here, and it's a very soulful, spiritual experience. For me, it always has been. I've been doing this channel for probably 3 years or so, or coming up on it or whatever, and I do a lot of stuff down here by the water, and a lot of content, I should say. And so a lot of it seems redundant. Even a lot of what I say 3 years later, I'm saying the same stuff, right? I don't know, but when I was growing up, all this was different. All this wasn't here when I was real young. I don't even know if I'm sorry, I get a stuffy nose or whatever. I don't even know. But when some of this started, the roses, I've talked about that in the videos, and I actually used to work for the ex-wife of the artist, and it was one of those things where it started out. I was one of those people that, I was living with someone, and he got me a job working. He was an organist, and he got me a job working at the cathedral, initially as kitchen maintenance to help the ladies guild kind of keep up with the kitchen. So that's what that was going to be. But shortly after, the private school lost 2 of its employees, so I was doing my job, and then I filled in for the 2 employees kind of online from the. And what happened was I just got so burnt out, because that was a period where I would walk from my house up the block, and I'd go to my job at a bakery. It was a bakery and a vegetarian restaurant, basically, and I did 3 hours, and then I went right next door, and I worked at a dry cleaners, Let me see. Let me be. For about 4 hours, 3 or 4. I think maybe I worked 3 hours at the restaurant, 4 hours at the dry cleaners, and then I went to the church and I did my duties in the kitchen. rushed through them, rushed to get through that. A lot of times the ladies were not there preparing food, and so it was basically just a generalized thing. But when there was an event, my work was really heavy. My workload was really heavy. But anyway, I'd have to, make sure that kitchen was okay. People pass through that thing all day long, whether there's something going on or not. People pass through it, and I had my duties that I had to do. It certainly had to be presentable. And then I had to go to the third floor, do all the classrooms on the third floor, all the hallways throughout all 3 of the floors, and this was a massive, huge Gothic building. Then I had to go and do the gymnasium, and oh my God, that job would go on for, that was with all that was a near full-time job, and I was working anywhere from 13 to 14-hour days. And I'm not talking about and I've had those long jobs where I've sat behind a desk and I've done administrative work for long periods of time, and it mentally burned me out. But it also really doing a lot of physical work, custodial type work, for 13, 14 hours a day sometimes. And then I also worked a lot on the weekends. I don't know. I was one of those people that when I was really going after it, I went after it, and you didn't say no to work. I was one of those people. And I don't know. That was a pattern that I had, and in a way I'm glad, because when I needed to retire, I was able to retire. But also, I was one of those people that I would burn myself out on these jobs, not just on the part-time jobs set up like I talked about, sometimes on a singular job, like especially when I used to do DHCP technical support for various companies at some call centers that I worked at. Those jobs, they want you on the clock all the time, as much as they can get you. If you can never have a day off and work for them 12, 13 hours a day, they want you to do that. So, and they, at least that's what it was when I was doing those jobs, and it was merciless. So I guess that's what I'm reflecting on now, is that, how important self-care is, how important it is to take care of the physical self, so that physical stuff, so that you don't become depleted, And then, of course, there's the even dealing with, because I've done, believe it or not, at one point, I was actively doing a layman's form of counseling in peer support. And I had people, they would look me up and they would offer me, peer support. Sometimes you got to go out and hunt down those jobs that are peer support. And it's largely, hey, peers doing a lot of, basically you find out what you're doing is you're emptying a lot of trash cans, you're doing a lot of this or that or whatever. You basically, but I got calls that, I worked for the state, in the division of mental health, and kind of filled in as a, I did assessments. I talked with people. I did assessments of their symptoms. I handled files. I did a lot of peer-to-peer counseling. Not that I was a psychologist, but a peer-to-peer counseling is that's basically the whole point of peer support, is to be a listener. Basically, that's what that is. You listen and you provide a little bit of empathy. That sometimes maybe a patient might go to the doctor and say to the doctor, but you just don't understand. And the doctor could say, well, I know someone who really would understand. And then they match you up with someone who has, some training in peer support, someone else who has similar issues. I did a lot of that, and I'm proud of my resume in that field, and in doing that, it's really important to maintain, hey, when I'm going to help somebody and I'm going to offer that support, it's really, really important that I do not neglect that I'm a person who needs that kind of support for myself. So, you got to make sure that spiritual cup gets replenished, that emotional cup, that whatever, gets replenished, so that you actually have something to offer, to share in a helpful, compassionate kind of way. And anyone can be of help to anyone who needs it. You just have to make sure that self-care is a big part of that, and not neglect the self-care, But, yeah, that's just a topic that's been on my mind. And I would say it's been on my mind because, wow, there have been a lot of people that I have known in the past couple of months, that I have personally known, who have been in my orbit and who have died, who have passed on. And if I haven't known some of them personally, then I know some of their close surviving people personally. And that's, I'm older. I'm not thrown by those things, those parts of life that are less comfortable, because I've experienced a fair amount of it when I was very young. When I was very young, one of my cousins died, and he was even very younger than I was, and but we were close. We were as close as brothers, and that was difficult. But that experience, I had it, and so I know what that experience is, and I know that every death hits a little differently. And I never say to someone, hey, I know what you're going through, but I can still have a sense of empathy without trying to take a person's experience and mold it into an exact replica of mine, But there's been a lot, and so in talking to people, and various different people, and just a couple of times it was like, I had someone that I knew from some time ago who had someone die, and someone called me up and they were like, hey, well, you should call. And I'm like, well, we haven't been closely associated in a few years, and so maybe right at this hour is not the best time. Maybe it's best to give it a cooling off and wait until we see each other naturally, so that it's not just because the first thing that happens when a person dies is you get inundated with phone calls from everybody, and it seems that way, even if that's not the case. And for me, I find that a comfort. And then sometimes sometimes I find it insincere. And so, unless, and I'm careful about that. When I want the, I try to, I'm a little bit of an empath. I kind of monitor and kind of reach out when I feel like it's appropriate. I'm a member of a 12-step fellowship. I go to a few different 12-step fellowships. And we have people that pass on. Or we have people that have relatives that pass on even. And I don't necessarily go to every memorial. I go if I have, if I've had a close tie, then I'll go. But there are ways to show support that are not overkill. And how to get on this topic? I tell you, I got on this topic. I haven't really talked about it, and it's okay. I feel this is almost a sacred little emotional secret spot for me, and I always get a little bit more open. I feel safe to be more open when I'm down here under the night, and I don't know. It's almost, it is, like I said, it's spiritual cleansing. But all this is just to say that in whatever kind of way that a person intends to be of service to his fellow persons, let there be, self-care. Let there be self-care. There is a time to sacrifice. I believe that there is time to give away your share of the food to someone who needs it more. But there's also a time to advocate for self and take care of self. And finding that balance, especially for someone like me, who's an addict, before it was, like I described my jobs, get the job, work the job, blah, 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 and, oh my God. And I'm talking about, I would work in restaurants and I'd work this job, and if I couldn't do 2 or 3 jobs in a restaurant, then I would go get another job, and I would have jobs at 2, sometimes 3 different restaurants. Doing anything. That was me always. Well, I mean, I needed to pay for the dope, but that's whatever. Also, but I would get. It's kind of cool. I loved this job I had in Florida, the White Lion. And I got a few good years working there. It's really great. I started out working as a disher, and then I got to work as a busboy, and then for a while I got to work as a disher and a busboy and then a waiter on some shifts, and it was just kind of cool. But yeah, you never should believe your own press. And I think what happened with me in that job is eventually I just got a little bit too cocky and kind of got a little bit too self-valuable. So that was a lesson to learn. Hey, by the way, never forget your humble beginnings, no matter how far you get. If you don't own the business, you are expendable. That was a lesson that I think, and I really loved that job, and I loved the people and everything like that. But at some point, it was one of those things that I was working so much that I burned myself out. But I got a little ego, and it became one of those things where if you offered a little bit of constructive criticism, I would be defensive. And that was because, damn, I needed this job, So instead of being able to just bow my head and say, yes, ma'am, like I did when I rose to some accomplishment in that restaurant, in that cafe or whatever in South Florida. I basically got all cocky with it now. So, and I became like almost impossible, to where I was like kind of, walking up and negotiating my own terms. So, in that capacity, I was not always a great employee, So, isn't it? It's a relief to be able to say these things honestly and know them, Yeah. I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna experience some quietness and get some reflection, and I'll be back after the pause. Let me see. Let me show you. Over here, I'm looking at this flashing on the water, and I'm like, what is in the water? It's the top of the hotel, the Horseshoe Casino and Hotel. And I'm going to get away from this train that's above my head. I write a lot of poems and song lyrics and things, and I love to write about trains. I don't know why. When I get around to, and all I'm looking for at this point, it's maybe about 2 months out or so, I don't know. It's basically finished. I'm just letting everything cool. But I've written that book I talked about. When I really get around to self-publishing on Amazon, I just want to, I don't know, I guess I'm bolstering up my courage to do it. I know no one's really going to read it or see it. No, not that many people. But that's not the point. It's just it's not even about a courage at this point. It's more along the lines of once you do something that's creative and then you let it go to the world, it doesn't really belong to you anymore. It belongs to the world. So in the way till it's ready for me to release it. I'm gonna walk over here and pause, let the people pass by. I don't like to accidentally catch people on video if I can help it. Well, anyway, that's kind of how I feel about that, because see, whenever I write something, it's like I know the intention, I know what it means, I know what I meant to say, but I very abstractly write, very loosely, and so whenever I show something to somebody or something, it really, to the other person who sees it, it's their interpretation and it belongs to them. And that experience, I mean, I don't know, I can write it, I can have my experience with it, and then when I pass it off to somebody, what they have with it, if anything, then at that point has really nothing to do with me, and that's the part that I'm waiting for, to get ready for, to get emboldened to do that, I'm just not quite ready to let go of everything. Plus, I may want to add a little something, after this little vacation that's coming up that I'm going to take. But, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I love trains. Trains are a big part of stuff for me. I think it's only natural. I mean, it was one of our first modes. It was one of our first modes of, mechanical transportation, like wagon trains and stuff like that. Were precursors to railways, whatever. But I have no idea. Sometimes coming out here and just feeling a little bit of a quiet meditation, really has a lot to do with experiencing the quiet and experiencing, just the calm of it. So we'll get back up to the water. And while I'm not actually out in the wilderness, it's quiet enough that I can hear things moving in the grass and down by the riverbanks and stuff like that. So not too far from the train. If I'd walked off in the other direction, there's a walking trail that goes on for about 6 miles, give or take, and right next to the river, and you hear all sorts of crazy stuff. Early in the morning like this, I would not advise being out there without a light to see. I really wouldn't advise it. It is Louisiana. We do have snakes, other things, alligators, right? Mosquitoes. Or it's tiny little vampires that they are. I love it out here. But also, I'm going to go ahead and walk back to the house. As I was moving, I kept hearing something, and I'm like, what is it? Well, I've got my keys in my pocket. So that's what I was hearing jingle. I was like, what is that? And I kept pausing and stopping and looking around. What is that? It's me. My keys. I'm the noisemaker. I'm disturbing all this beautiful natural peace. So I'm going to head home. And, thank you for, if you watch this video, thanks for hanging out. And thanks for my little, enduring my little confessional and whatever. But what's coming up? Well, we're gonna do the changing of the lights probably tomorrow. Today, I didn't go to it because, whatever. But they had in the Shreveport Common Park on the other side of downtown, there was a water day where they had like water slides, and parents brought their kids out and let them slide around on the slip and slides, and gave out bottles of water to everybody. It was really kind of cool. It was a really nifty, cool idea. And I had intended to just kind of get over there and walk by and kind of look at it and maybe take a little picture of what was going on, or a little video or something like that. But it was like, nah, it's a family thing with children and stuff like that, and I really just I didn't want to come. Excuse me. I think I swallowed a bug or something. It's a hazard of being near the river. I didn't want to. I didn't want to come off as creepy, so I didn't go there. But let's see. Yeah, it's quiet out here. I don't know. Let me pause the video. I'll be back with you when I have something to say. Oh, I know. Here's something to say. Coming out walking like this, it's really good for your health. It's good for all of your health. So if you can get out and do a little bit of walking, do that. Night or day, whatever, walk with a buddy if you can. Doesn't have to be some high-end power walking. Just, get out and get moving. It's a way to maintain a little bit of physical vitality. In this part of the Texas Street Bridge, when was it? I don't know. It was one of the Red River Rebels. They did a lot of this. Well, this person is missing, so sorry. You know that person, or you've seen them. Get in touch. But the mural here, they do a lot of that. And I'm trying to remember when. So we have a place called Festival Plaza, and that's over a street or two, and it's in the middle of downtown. A couple of streets over to my left, which would be, I guess, south of the bridge, a couple of blocks or whatever. And it goes on for a stretch of 2 or 3 blocks. And under that train, but where the train, where the train bridge, I don't know the name of the bridge that train travels on, but that's where Festival Plaza is, on the Shreveport side, and that's where the Red River Rebel happens now, when we do it. But before that was established, before that area was there, and I don't know when or where, whatever, they used to do it all along the riverfront, all where I was walking, where all those fountains were, all that was just, they had a Holiday in Dixie there, which they renamed, and it's become the Spring Fair. When they have it, they don't always have it anymore. Holiday in Dixie, that's not such a kosher thing. That's not such a political thing to say anymore, so they call it something else. But they had all of the festivals and stuff used to take place along where I was walking around, where the river, but the fountain wasn't there, and it was a whole different thing. So, but actually, yeah. Let's see. If you're interested in business out here, you can get in touch with Lee Hall Properties. Okay, so let me get over here. Yeah, kind of wanted to get. Oh, there was some people coming up, and I kind of wanted to get to a little quieter area to keep talking. Yeah, I think it's really cool to just in life, fidget a little bit. When I was a little kid, they used to say, "Hey, we're gonna get you some slow down pills." I didn't know if that was like a real thing or not, but that's what the joke. We're gonna get you some slow down pills. They got pills that'll make you slow down. I don't know. But actually, they do. But I didn't know that. I thought they were joking. Anyway, but no, they didn't get me slow down pills. But I had all this problem with focus in school. Aside from being, immature and maybe like unstabilized because we constantly moved. It was just, everything was frantic in my little mind, in my little world. But yeah, they didn't have all the diagnoses and stuff like that. They were kind of new in the 70s or whatever, and not everybody had access to that kind of care. Today, those things would be addressed more. But it's like I said, when I'm talking, when I'm walking and stuff, I don't necessarily like to, get a lot of background noise and stuff, so I kind of move away from people when I come across them. But so it's like as I'm pausing because I crossed and then now they're crossing, so it's like, Jesus, I'm gonna let them kind of get a little space. Oh, what was I saying? Oh yeah, today we'd have more information. Also, just basically how to work with children, to younger children, to kind of focus their attention, because a lot of this is just like, you know, you took a person and put them in front of a classroom. Yes, they were trained as teachers and everything, but it's like, you know, 25 to 30 kids in a classroom. It's, you know, it's a lot of activity, and it's hard to really focus on who needs what type of attention or whatever like that. So I really do wish that we had like smaller classrooms. And I think that some of the private schools that I've seen, I haven't been to any as a student, but I've worked around some private schools. One of them was the church I talked about. And so, you know, smaller classrooms, smaller number of students in the class, more attention to the child gets had. So we have a couple of issues that we've been talking about for a zillion, jillion decades. That teachers want better money. And I'm okay with that because of all the work that they have to do. But another way to approach this would be that yes, teachers get paid fairly, but some of that budget can go into building more classrooms, so that what can happen is we can have more teachers, and those teachers can work with smaller groups of students. I'm talking about K through 12 all the way up, baby. You know, if you can get a little bit more individualized attention. And that's something that could, you know, that could sort of happen where the teachers, you know, can get can get a livable wage and everything like that, and do fine and everything like that, but also not be so stressed out because keeping up with 15 or 16 students per class is easier than keeping up with 30 students per class. That's, that's my suggestion. And I think what it is that we had a lot more students in the 70s going to school and remaining in school throughout than what happened in decades before. You know, sometimes people would go to school just until 8th grade, and then they would leave the 8th grade. Yeah, sometimes students would go to school, even before then, they'd go to like 5th or 6th grade and would not go on to junior high. That's what they called it back then. By the time I was into it, they were calling it middle school, you know. But so a lot more attention was being paid to truancy, and those things were being enforced a lot more. And people were seeing the benefit of staying in school. I myself did not graduate high school. I left almost as soon as I turned 17, but I did go immediately and get my GED and start on my wayward professional paths, you know. But yeah, I think that some of my things, some of my issues as a young person, and why sometimes I was a little bit uncontrollable, is basically teachers were overwhelmed with large amounts of students in the class, and I was not okay with that. I tell you something else that I was not okay with. Maybe I was like a little 5-year-old prima donna. You tell me. But to take this towel and shake it out on a hard floor, and lay down on it and sleep? Like a nap? I'm not, no. If you want me to take a nap in a bed, you know? I mean, so, I don't know. Why couldn't there be little child-sized, cots or beds in kindergarten? Why did it have to be lay around on the floor? I don't know. I didn't get that, And that wasn't me being spoiled. That was me being human. Like, hey, I am not uh, living out in the woods here. I have a bed at home. Uh, but, of course, being like a little kid, I didn't know how to answer that. This is one of my favorite features. They're working on this. Downtown Main Branch Library, and it has been out of service since, I guess, during the COVID pandemic. There was a leak in the top floor, and it kind of shut things down when nobody, because there was no one there to notice it. And by the time they got back in, the damage had been done, so they were having to do a major rehaul. But I'm glad they're preserving it. But this feature is Huddie Ledbetter, and he is pointing the way to the neighborhood called Ledbetter Heights, also called, oh, here we go. I'll tell you about that in a second, what the neighborhood's called. Tell me if you can guess by the time we finish reading this. Built in 1911, it was a federal courthouse and a post office. Huh. I hope they fix it. They had all sorts of, libraries today. They've got computers and everything. It was just, all that was damaged. Everything. Books, all the books that were in there. I don't know, it was pretty bad. But also, the fourth floor is where they kept all the vital records. Hopefully they got backed up on microfiche or kept elsewhere also, or, in case they lost any hard copy. Papillon's Creole Bistro. I've been there. They had a pretty good chicken and sausage jambalaya. I mean, I prefer mine, but they do a good job. The only thing I would say was that the to-go serving, was just a little bit on the small side for the price, but everybody's trying to make a buck this day. So, Anyway, I really haven't done a true jambalaya. That is something I should do one day. But when I really do a jambalaya, it's a long process. It's not just something that I throw together. It's not just something that I throw together in 30 minutes. It's hours, It's a lot of everything. And there's an order to which I add the it's one of those things, man. And then you've had a good jambalaya. And I make it's most closely related to it's a chicken and sausage jambalaya, but you could do other kind of seafood. I've done like shrimp jambalaya for people. I don't eat shrimp, but this one time, same guy that got me the job at the cathedral that I was talking about all those zillions of years ago, probably about 20 years or so, well over 20 years by now since I had that job. I'm getting older and older the more I expound on these stories. We took a trip from Louisiana to Elk Cove, Nevada, uh, to visit friends of his and stay in this big, huge house on Emerald Isle off of North Carolina. And we did that for about 3 weeks. And everybody, all the families that were in this big house together, this whatever, we basically, everybody had a night. And I was like, well, I could do something Louisiana. I could make like a jambalaya. I make a really great andouille and chicken jambalaya. And we just knew they wouldn't have andouille. We got all the things that we needed, and including andouille sausage. And I would have done down home for this one, but these people wouldn't know that down home was a local thing that we kind of do here. So I got andouille, which was, a traditional, sausage that gets used, especially down New Orleans way. Anyway, so we did all that, chicken and sausage. But we actually brought the andouille and kept it on ice the whole time. But like every time we did a pit stop, we'd keep ice. So it was very packed and well readied. So chicken and sausage, and then we also did some shrimp, because I was like, well, let's do something also for the seafood lovers, because it is, So we got some local shrimp on Emerald Isle, and I did a batch of shrimp jambalaya. Same recipe, you just swap out the chicken and sausage with the shrimp. I was even thinking about maybe we should get some other kind of seafood to throw, but whatever. I really wasn't fitting the bill for that one, so we just kind of went with those two things. And people were telling me at this dinner, they were like, one guy in particular, he was like, I was really, in my mind, I was really prepared to really get in and enjoy this shrimp jambalaya. It was the first time that he'd had it. But and he was like, I was really, really getting in and prepared, because it's like, that's something I really could get behind, and jambalaya and everything. But when I tasted the chicken and the sausage, and especially that sausage, it was like, oh yes, it was like, he was like, that's the one, that sold it for me. And of course, if you've ever had that type of sausage, that type of spicy andouille sausage, like I said, when I do jambalaya around here, a lot of times I'll use down home sausage. But when I really, really, really want to really get truly authentic with it, I will splurge for the andouille, which is a flavorful but typically more expensive. I'm gonna get quiet here. Let me move. Okay, I didn't want to wake that person up again. But when I get when I really get into it, I'm just telling you, I'm talking about fresh, aromatic vegetables and everything. Very little. Very little comes out of a dried seasoning blend, but anyway, yeah, I hook it up. I put my crusty feet up into it, like it's great. If you've never had a good jambalaya, find a way to have some. Doesn't really matter to me if it's chicken or sausage or shrimp. I'm allergic to shrimp, can't have shrimp, but basically, if you haven't had it, you should experience it. That's one of the things that I love about Louisiana, being, I don't know, this is not something that like I would have eaten as a little kid, because I was just one of those, if it doesn't look like a corn dog. And even corn dog, I would peel the cornbread off of the dog and just eat the dog in the stick. Such a weirdo. Well, I still won't eat a bean. I won't do it. I don't care. You could offer me money to eat a serving of beans. Like, you could offer me A lot of money. And would I try to? Yes, I would. But I would not be able to do it. I cannot. The texture of a bean uh, being bitten into in my mouth, I can't do it. I cannot do it. I don't care. I don't care. And it's so funny because there are some, like I can do like a, a, a bean dip, but only if it's very well processed and it's basically a paste. Same with hummus, you know. It's got to be well blended. There can't be any bean portions left. And tahini is ground sesame seed that goes into ground chickpeas to make a hummus. So that kind of is cool. A lot of people, what is tahini? Like maybe I'm talking like, Valley, wahini, but no, it's tahini. It's a real thing. Okay, so Greek, I think, or Mediterranean, not necessarily entirely Greek, but anything that's Mediterranean. I'm almost home. Let's see. Hang on. Yeah, I was coming home one afternoon and I saw this kid who was just sitting up by this tree and he was like laying down half like, and his knuckles were all broken open, his skin or whatever, and I was like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And then he was like something about some water, and I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what. I live right over here, and I do, right over there, and I've got some water. If you wait right here, I will be right back. I promise." I ran to my house, threw together some things, some easy open cans, the stuff you can, anything that people who are living outside uh, and that way I did that, and then I took the, uh, you know, some bottled water, and I had like some uh, Powerades or whatever, some of those kind of electrolyte drinks and stuff like that, and I also had a first aid kit. And I put together a first aid kit, some extra bandages and band-aids and everything like that, and I took it to him. But that was not too long after I first moved down here. And I'm not saying that to talk about the deed. I'm just talking about, there are some times when I feel like if I'm walking around and if I come across someone who's outside, that I can, if I feel it, then I can help out, But to just, I do live down here, and so if I did that like all the time, then I don't know, I wouldn't be able to take walks and stuff like that because everybody would think that I was a kind of a soft touch for spare change or whatever, and the truth is I'm not, It's just at that particular moment I kind of felt for the kid. It was like, hey, this is something that could be me even today, if I had not had the trajectory that I did, that had been me, So whatever. I hope he's all right. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna walk up here and catch my favorite view from this area, and this is something that found its way into one of my paintings a zillion years ago, even before I lived downtown, or I had lived downtown at one point and then moved away for, I don't know, a millennia, and then came back down. And it's this the road that goes through those trees there. And I did not realize I had seen views like this, similar views. And it's like, wow, these are the shapes that are showing up in some of my landscapes that I've done. And it must be filtered through my subconscious. You get these things that speak to you in some sort of way of the earth and the world and the things that surround us, and they find a way to get embedded in the subconscious and the superconscious, which is, you know, that we're that part of the brain that gets, hypnotized or whatever by yellow stripes on the road if you don't keep yourself alert while you're driving, called road hypnosis. But that's where the reprogramming of yourself can happen if you find yourself among the wrong type of influences. What they used to be afraid of, the whole musical backmasking thing that would happen or whatever during that whole like satanic panic thing in the 70s and 80s, secret messages getting to the kids or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. These things in the world, they get to us, and then later on they'll find a way out. Whatever gets into the brain, whatever happens, it will come out. Nothing stays bottled up. Nothing. Everything finds a way out. So, if there's anything that's going on with anybody in the world, if nothing else, find someone to engage in some talk therapy. If you can't find an immediate professional, look for a support group or something. Like I said, whatever's in there, it's gonna find a way out anyway. Yeah. So, draw pictures, write poems, be creative, make a video for social media content. Don't hold on to what's going to burst if it doesn't get out. I think sometimes the brain is like a pressure cooker, and yay, it could blow up. I already talked about my phobia of pressure cookers in the kitchen. Well, life can be like that. So whatever. Do you, be your best you, be your best you to other people, but also take care of you. Love you. Goodbye. Love and light. Good night.